Hi, Jessica.
Kelsey!
How are
So
you today?
I am doing all right. I'm so excited to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course. I figured we would do a quick update before we just dive into our sex lives.
Why not?
So I know you've been traveling, trying new treatments.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you at now? How's your pain? And I
Mm.
have to give my quick disclosure that everything we talk about here are just Kelsey and mine experiences. So if anything interests you, please, please, please check in with your medical team.
Good
Uh,
disclaimer.
Have at it, Kelsey. Tell me everything. What's been going on?
Yeah, I think the last time we chatted, we did a live, and then you were on the podcast, my podcast, and I can't remember if I was microdosing psilocybin then yet. I was
Yes.
trying psilocybin, and since then, I've stopped trying the silo, and I've actually just finished my first ketamine therapy treatment, which was very exciting stuff. And I've been off of my nerve gabapentin. I think I was at like 2,000 milligrams the last time I was on anything. I've completely weaned off of that. All of that to say, I don't know that I have, how do I say this? I look at my pain a lot differently. I experience it a lot differently. And I've definitely been using pain reprocessing therapy as a tool. PRT is what they call it. And doing as much research as I can on the experience of living with pain beyond my own experience as I continue to write the second book.
Which we are all so freaking excited about. When
Oh,
is it coming out?
I think last time I had told you it was my manuscript was due in April and I still wasn't finished, and I'm still not finished. So we're definitely looking at later this year, but definitely this year.
We are all sitting on the edge of our seats for
Oh,
it.
thanks.
Cannot wait.
How
Well,
about
so
you? Tell me. How are you?
yes, everything has been kind of crazy around here. Getting on my nerves has grown so much. It's become my full-time job now, just spreading awareness and connecting with warriors worldwide is simply amazing. Just to be able to, like our connection, we just met on social media. We connect so much about things that no one else has any experience about.
Yeah.
So it's really just changed my life and changed the way my relationship with pain as well, the way
Mhm.
I respond to it and react to it. It's all a healing and growing process through this thing, really.
Amen. Glad to hear it.
Yes. So, do you experience your pain? I know your AD bothers you more than your TN. Do you experience pain daily, all day long? Kind of describe it for us.
Yeah, so I've been really lucky to be in remission of TN type 1, I believe, which is the like the flash attacks. That's like
Yeah.
bring you down to your knees, come see Jesus the light, born again kind of pain. Since about 2019, but I still live with TN type 2 every day, and I still really live and manage with AD, which is the anesthesia dolorosa, which is a symptom of a nerve injury that often comes from TN surgery or procedures.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
because we have that similarity that I'm in pain with my TN2 all day as well.
Mm.
So that kind of goes into our sex topic today. Um, I am married and have been married for 4 years. We've been together for almost 10 years now. I know you're in a committed relationship. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am in a non-monogamous or an ethically non-monogamous. They call it ENM. All the kids are calling it these days, or shorthand, an open relationship. I identify as queer, and my partner is a cis hetero man, and we've been together for 4.5 years, and he is my primary partner.
I love it. Thank you so much for, first of all, being so vulnerable with us today, because
Of course.
some people got some real dirty questions for us to dive into here.
Let's do it.
I knew you would be the perfect person to tackle these questions with.
And if you asked any other TN warrior, I'm not going to lie. If I saw you were doing a sex talk about trigeminal neuralgia, I would have pissed.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about sex drive, libido. Has it been, what's the word? Has it changed? Has it, have different medications changed it? Where are you kind of at?
I'm just moving so that the light is better, because I was sitting in like the brightest light of all time.
Which is not good for either of us.
Yeah. I was like, this isn't going to last long. Are you still able to hear me like this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, you know what's funny is like libido is something people who don't live with chronic pain also struggle with. Like I like to think of it as a roller coaster ride, and that's for every single person on earth. At some point, some experience, some life event will cause that sex drive to change, whether it's medication or pain flares or a stressful time at work, or you just don't feel like it. I mean, I think that that's an experience that is not unique to just spoonies, but is its own niche unique experience where we're dealing with stuff that a lot of people don't have to. So personally, of course, in 4.5 years, there has been things come up where my partner might be in a fantastic mood and I'm going on like a 3-day flare, and I will just feel like the most guilty person, because I remember even at one point our couples therapist had offered the idea of scheduling like sexy time, like sex nights with each other. And you don't have to be fully penetrative intimate, but this was the hour or two you guys are going to just hang out with each other's bodies. And even then I'd be like, well, my body, my flares, my chronic pain doesn't understand scheduling. My chronic pain doesn't understand flares. So even that was something I had to struggle with. And for sure, feeling the guilt of wanting to show up as a partner, and also feeling like, hey, my body doesn't work and my mouth definitely doesn't work. So what can I be? What can I be for you in this space? And so that's been something absolutely having to navigate. And I'm curious about yourself as well.
Yes. I have definitely experienced a change, especially being on all the medications. I feel like my sex drive was like a 14-year-old boy before I was on all of these pills, right? And now it's like, my husband's like, do you want to have sex? Are you attracted to me? Should we do something different? You know? And it totally goes along with all that guilt of, man, I'm only 32 years old. I should still be going, right? Of course, there's ups and downs. Like you said, we all experience those changes in our sex drives as we age, and stress, and oh my God, we just came out of a pandemic, for God's sakes. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's not ununique to feel like these last 2 years especially have been strong, because on top of the pain, we're also just dealing with a universal trauma.
Exactly. So you kind of touched on something that I'm going to circle back on, which was a question from the Warriors. Is oral sex just out of the picture? How do we do it? When do we do it? Does it cause a flare? What's going on?
I love this question because I agree. I do not think there is anywhere on the internet, in a handbook, there is no one who is talking about this subject specifically. And it was a thing I joked about a lot with like doctors or people I met. Like it was something I would joke about. The second someone found out about my condition, I'd be like, yeah, so you can imagine blowjobs are not exactly the easiest thing for you, girl. And it always like eased the tension and got a laugh. But then I would be like, no, but seriously, like my boyfriend is like, and my relationship was always queer and open prior to my diagnosis. So it's not anything new or unique that sometimes people are like, oh, are you guys open because of the physical stuff, or like because sometimes you can't have sex or whatever? And no is the simple answer. I think people think, oh gosh, am I going to have an open relationship to be able to like satisfy my partner's needs? And I just don't think that's the case. But there has had to have been a lot of adjustments in terms of positioning. And for me, like, I cannot do him laying down and me on top anymore when it comes to oral sex, because the weight and the motion of like the head, no pun intended, is Blair City for me. I found that just, I mean, 3 seconds in, I'm going like, sir, this is your penis that is in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, you're around a lot of hardware, so it's your decision to figure out an alternative with me. And so we've had a lot of like, dare I say, fun communication and fun experimenting with alternative ways in positioning, and involving like, liquids or water if I get tired, or, these are like 2 extra mouths sometimes. I have no shame in saying that we've definitely had to find alternative routing to get there, but it is not a issue anymore. But there was a learning curve for both of us, absolutely.
I love that. And I am 100% with you. And I actually am learning some tips from you. So this is even better.
Oh, good.
I'm going to try that switching up positions, because that whole head down in low inversion thing, no, it doesn't last for me. It doesn't last for him. It's like a quickie little BJ. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's all I got, guy.
There's something also to pain warriors. Like, we put up with pain all the fucking time. And I think we think if something starts to become painful during intimacy, that we have to push through it because we're so used to pain. And what that does when we push through it's ignoring being present in our bodies. And we all know what it's like to not be present in your body during sexual intimacy. You're so in your head. You're thinking like, oh God, do I have enough like CBD for this later? I'm going to have to go to my physical therapist. And we're setting ourselves up for trouble down the line. And so another thing that I've had to find a lot of confidence and power in is stopping sexual activity and knowing that it doesn't define my worth as a lover, or it's not going to put a nail in the coffin in our relationship. But just even that power of saying, hey, like, either this position doesn't feel good for me, or like my face hurts now, or kissing is off the table today. It forces us into wildly honest communication. And I don't think I would have ever done that had I not experienced pain.
Oh my God, preach. You are just speaking to my soul right now. We kind of have this like conversation before we even start, like what's on limits and what's off limits. Like, today I can't do any kissing, no oral. So we got to switch it up. We'll do, like you said, use your hand, use some toys, liquids. There's lots of different options. So you got to get creative. And like you said, if you're midway and the pain is just hitting you, and stop, just explain to your partner before. I have never been single with TN, so I really, feel for single warriors who have to have this lengthy conversation before you get intimate with someone. I don't know if you've been single with TN, but do you have any tips for people who are having those awkward conversations?
Yeah. No, it's actually pre-diagnosis too. So not only did I have this pain, but I had no idea how to explain it. And, being in an open relationship, it's like you're still doing things single people would do, going on first dates,
Exactly.
experience like sexual encounters with people for the first time. It's it's a it depends on what each person is comfortable with. I think some people, if it's just a hookup, that they're less inclined to go into like your deepest traumas and say, hey, this is what you should expect out of me, so hold on tight, and rather just set really like your boundaries when first starting to hook up, like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with, this isn't what I'm comfortable with, and that period should be enough. But if you feel so inclined to share, like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I'm not comfortable with because X, Y, and Z, that certainly opens up a conversation to lean into. Do you have any questions? Do you want to, like, ask me anything? Do you want to get anything off your chest? And that's, I hate to say it, but I feel like that's something that gets easier with like age and experience, because if you were telling me this when I was 21, I would be mortified to like be openly communicative with my sexual partner, because I just felt like people didn't talk that way to each other. But I think what's something really gorgeous about the next generations is that they are so consent informed, so communicative, that I'm hoping the conversations shift when talking about like intimacy that way.
That's so true. I think that we've talked about this before, but you become so comfortable with yourself and dealing with chronic pain, and you just know what you need and what you don't need. And I don't know how I would have done this as my 21-year-old self looking back, and just the level of comfort and honesty that I have to be with my partner is just at a completely different level now.
100%.
What are some positions or things you like to do? Maybe your partner is you know, having some intimate feelings and you're not into it. Maybe what's that conversation look like?
About if they're horny and I'm not, or if
Yes.
positions you said? Okay.
I
Um,
kind of went everywhere, so we'll go, we'll dive into both of them.
all valid, right? Like, I think when it comes to, this is something I think my partner would understand, but maybe a new person, like that's either a casual hookup or someone that you're just dating. But I feel like my partner now can sense when I'm having like an off day. It's just inevitable to see the way I carry myself or the way I speak, or, like huff around the house, or, I'm constantly touching my face. Like there's so many things where I feel like he's very attuned now to my understanding of like when I'm gonna be like, leave me alone. But that's not to say that getting sexy or revved up doesn't help with endorphins and serotonin that is actually really good for pain. So sometimes, even if I just really am like, I'd rather just sit and watch RuPaul's Drag Race, sometimes I'll say, but you know what? Like the same way I talk about it with like anxiety and panic disorder, I'll say, like, sometimes jerking off feels good for the body. It makes you feel less pain, and focusing on something else does make you get that rush of serotonin and that flood of endorphins. So there's something to be said about, if it's a day where you're like, I need this just to myself, that you should have no problem communicating that with your partner. But I think it can only get dangerous when you're using it as an excuse to not be honest, right? Like, I think if you're starting to lie about I mean, we're always in pain. I think we can always tap into it. So we're never lying about our pain necessarily. But if we're lying as an excuse, rather than saying like, let me tap into my body. I might not want to like have sex right now, but can we like lay in the bed together and like hold hands? Or do you want to like something like even something really just silly? Like sex is supposed to be silly. Like we're so brainwashed by porn that we forget that sex is like so fucking goofy. Like it's so goofy. There's weird noises, weird positions. Like the whole thing in itself is just, it's really supposed to be meant to be something you enjoy. So if you're not feeling it, but you think, you know what, I at least want to spend time with my partner, I don't necessarily need to be full on doing it, there are ways to gentle kind of like wade into the water rather than just like diving right in.
Exactly. I have been preaching this on my page that I found this study, orgasming increases a woman's pain threshold by 108%.
Jesus Christ.
So we have to orgasm like every day to put up with the pain. We
Yep.
have to, ladies.
And I'll tell you what, I am very comfortable with myself and my body and my self-pleasure, that I found that the way that, you know, when I am self-pleasuring, I'm usually laying with my face on the pillow, and I can only do that for so long. And so I've even had to change up my style, if you will, that I've had forever to being something different. And there's just things you're going to learn and your pain's going to change. And I always talk about this on the podcast about just like, who are we comparing ourselves to, with not like, who's checking in on that? Who's like, you guys aren't having sex 3 times a week? Shame. Your relationship must be awful. Like, why do we have a scale, and why do we even have a survey of people saying, well, the amount of time I have sex per week? Because it's like, who are we comparing? Like, who cares about our number unless it's your partner, right? Like, that's all that matters. Who cares how often you're doing it? That's just for like regular people too.
Exactly. I think that's such a good point, that even though your friends are, you know, my big thing right now is all my friends are having kids. And so I feel like I have to be at that point in my life. And of course, we don't have to be, but with chronic pain, it's even a deeper level of all of that.
Yeah.
So I think not comparing yourself is one of the biggest things in life, obviously, but especially with chronic pain,
Right.
to understand that you're exactly where you need to be, and what's happening is what's meant for you. Make sure you're happy. Who cares what everyone else is doing?
Yeah, and stop reading those like sex magazine, you know, like Cosmo and all that shit. Anything that's like a normal relationship. Well, we're not in a normal relationship, okay? Find me one person that is, and that sounds boring as fuck.
Exactly. So for me, when I have sex, my pain like literally goes away. That's the only way my pain disappears in the day. Even if it's for that 5 to 30 minutes of pleasure.
Like 30? What are you doing for the
Let's just say he keeps the orgasming going to get that pain threshold going, girl.
Yeah, right? Isn't it crazy though that, like, you know, I'm doing a lot of pain reprocessing therapy, and they talk about the experience of distraction, right? Like how strong something as simple as like not focusing on your pain can be. And there are certainly a ton of other sensations happening during sex that you can really focus on, and it's almost like a mind body practice. And I wish it was something I was better at implying in my daily life. Like, if I can experience no pain during sex, why can't I experience that same kind of relief during the day? And it's challenging for sure.
Exactly. Do you experience that during sex as well? Does the pain go away? Does it help? Do you flare after?
I would say, you know,
I don't understand.
Oh God, there goes my Siri.
Your watch is like, I'm sorry, you guys talking about blowjobs? Can I jump in on this? I it depends, right? Like sometimes there will be things where like kissing or like too much like oral stuff could be triggering, but then there's also times where it's off my mind. I'm in a bliss. I certainly am not thinking about it, and that's so relieving and gorgeous. And then you just feel like a regular person who's having to navigate a sexual experience, which in itself can be like weird and insecure and like fun or goofy. So it definitely it piques my interest to think about like neuroplastic pain, right? Like even if there is structural damage, which like I have a hard time getting through because I have fake joints and titanium plates and things in my face. if you can experience no pain during sex, how can we prolong that into regular life?
Exactly.
Mm.
That is the key. What advice do you have for our partners?
Ooh, great question. I again, like, I think it's something that, depending on partner's intimate knowledge of your pain, right? Like, I have friends who are spoonies who don't talk to their partners about their pain, and I'm just like, I am too selfish to be quiet about my experience. So my partner is very intimate of knowledge of TN and AD, and he knows like what tools I need, what like ice pack or like CBD. He knows how to help me when I'm experiencing pain. But if it's not about me and I'm checking in with him, I think it's really important with your partner to know that their needs matter and that their needs are valid. And especially with sexual needs, it still matters. It just because you have a partner in pain all the time doesn't mean you don't deserve to have the kind of sexual experience you want in your life. And that can be really fucking scary for people in pain, because you think someone's going to leave me. I'm not going to be able to ever have sex, so they're going to leave me. But I'm here to tell you that there are so many other ways to experience pleasure and experience sex and relationships and be horny and have orgasms that have nothing to do with your face, or could even have nothing to do with you, or where all of this needs to even start is that communication with your partner. So I would say that that's certainly something that I can get to with my partner, because we've been so intimate about my pain experience for 4.5 years now. But there was a partner in the beginning when I was first trying to find diagnosis that was really uncomfortable with my pain experience, and he was so afraid of hurting me, or so afraid. It was like walking on eggshells, and I could tell that he wasn't putting himself first in certain experiences. So I think it's establishing what each other's needs are and then going, okay, how can we make sure everyone's needs are fulfilled? And it doesn't make you less of a partner or less sexy or less, horny. It's just different for everybody.
Exactly. I think that's such a good point, to really open that communication with your partner. Ask them what their needs are, how often they need their needs fulfilled. Open that line of communication so that you can kind of let some of that guilt and burden go.
Mm-hmm. That's such a true point. Like, the guilt, I think, is the hardest thing to get over, and the shame is, you're going to feel less shameful and burdensome when you actually feel like you can do something about it, when you can help. And it might not be an answer maybe you're comfortable with or used to, but it's a process and it's learning, right? Like, I have no I think a little bit more liberal, unique case where I have no problem if my partner has their sexual needs fulfilled elsewhere, or, whether that be through porn or a different partner or self pleasure. Like, there's no uh, parameters. We certainly have boundaries. We don't have like rules, but I I've gotten to that place through deep, deep internal work. Like, it almost really had nothing to do with him. It really had to do with like discovering, okay, why do I feel shameful or insecure or worried about this thing? And if your partner is receiving of that and willing to say like, hey, this is what it is and this is what it isn't, it clears a lot of that negativity or the assumptions you might have about it in your head.
Exactly. I love that. You really have to just be that open line of communication with your partner, like we keep preaching over and over again.
It might be uncomfortable at first, but like, I also feel like if there's anyone that can and warriors, like, we've already like, we've already done some of the hardest shit ever in life, and just learning how to be more communicative with your partner isn't actually all that scary when you've been faced with like TN flares.
Exactly. It's almost empowering in a way.
Yeah, 100%.
Kelly is asking, is it selfish to stay in a polyamorous relationship with chronic pain?
What's selfish about what's selfish about it? To stay in a I'm confused by the question. I don't see any selfishness about that. Am I
Maybe,
misinterpreting it?
I don't, maybe just, I don't know. Kelly, do you
Oh,
want to dive in?
me. Okay, yeah, I'm making an assumption, so I'll wait for clarification.
I know I was making an assumption too, and I didn't want to express it. I don't want to put
Yeah,
words in her mouth.
yeah, I'll wait for the clarification.
Um, Jamie was saying, as a sex and relationship therapist, she deeply believes in working on your own shame.
Oh yeah, because everyone's got it. Point me to a single person who doesn't have shame in some way around sex. It's everybody's experience, you know.
Exactly.
It's not unique to chronic pain.
Why don't we talk about some tips if you're interested in opening your relationship and that's something new, you're, wanting to fulfill your partner's needs, maybe your needs, try something new in your relationship. What are some tips for you?
Ooh, this is one of my favorite subjects to talk about because I have been through it all. You know, this isn't like my first necessarily, it's my first like long term open relationship or ethically non monogamous, but it's come with trial and error, right? And like the number one thing I always say is that you cannot do it for the sake of anyone but yourself. If you're doing it because you don't think your partner's needs are being fulfilled, or if you're doing it because you're worried they're going to leave you because of your pain, or you're worried you're not enough for them, it will never, ever, ever work. It has to be 100% a full commitment decision from each person because they absolutely want it for themselves. And you can want your partner, you can want it for your partner too. Like, great, I want my partner to be happy, but it's not going to work if I'm not 100% in it for myself. And so I would say, be selfish about this. If you're going to open up that conversation, you have to absolutely be okay with saying, I experience jealousy when this happens, or I'm not okay with this, or I'm super uncomfortable about this kind of thing. And that goes down to the nitty gritty details about like very minute sex stuff. So even if you're, uncomfortable, or like if you don't want to know details, like you would have to express that. Or if you're someone who wants every single detail, you have to express that and be okay with your partner saying, I hear you, I support that, and like here's my thoughts on it. And so I would say that's like step number one, is just, if you're going to open the conversation, I don't think that it should be only dependent on doing it because you have chronic pain and because you're fearful of it.
That's great advice. Always make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons so that you're not sitting there going, "Oh shit, what is going on?"
Yeah, that's the recipe for I'm not good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Kelly got back to us. She
Oh, cool.
said, "Was it monogamy?" Oh my gosh, haha. I'm engaged to my fiance and we're in a closed relationship, but I often feel bad like I'm not good enough, even though she always reassures me that I am.
Yeah, I would say like listen to your partner, right? It's a lot of projection with us saying, I feel like I'm not good for them, even though they're literally telling me the opposite. I'm pretty sure they don't want to be with me and I'm not good enough. And it's a lot of, well, how do you yourself feel? Because when I think about myself, and I tell my boyfriend this all the time, I'm like, I know I'm fucking awesome. I know I'm great. And I know you're lucky to be with me, like, and that was not something I felt all of my life. But at this point, I'm like, I'm a great fucking partner. I'm loyal. I'm honest. I'm fun. I'm smart. I'm adventurous. I'm creative. And like, here's all of these things that I am. And sometimes I still am like, am I good enough for this person? Like we all have doubt,
Yep.
but having that open communication with your partner, and if you feel like they're not telling you the truth, right? Like sometimes we'll be like, why are you mad? I'm not mad. I can tell you're mad because I just know you and I feel it in my bones. I think that's when it's helpful to get a third party perspective, like a couples therapist, to create a safe space, which is something I'm learning how to do with my partner, to say, I might not be really good at holding space for you to fully dive into your like honest wants and needs. But is there someone we can work with that knows how to hold space better so that you do feel comfortable saying, like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not getting all of my sexual desires fulfilled. And I wasn't even thinking about that because I've been afraid of losing you, or I've been afraid of hurting your feelings, or I've been afraid of, you know, uh, making you feel like you're not enough, or like confirming your worst fear. And, you know, if we put that fear in them, then they're never gonna want to confirm it. So I don't think one person can ever fulfill all of your needs. I think it's kind of old school to think that one person can be responsible for fulfilling every need of yours. Like, you know, I need a grocery guy who can fulfill that need. I need like a doctor. I need a therapist. I need a friend. It, you know, there's all sorts of people in our lives that can fulfill different kinds of needs. So just keeping that inquisition open, that curiosity, but also trusting your partner enough to trust what they say. And if you can't fully because you think they're even like lying to themselves about it, then that's when I would say get like a trained third party professional involved.
I love that. Great advice. Let's do one more question before we wrap it up.
Great.
This person is asking, as someone who has chronic pain and cannot really handle being touched, haven't for 2+ years, how can I help this, as I want to benefit from the mind body stuff too?
That's a big one. That's very hard. And, you know, that must be just so hard and very uncomfortable and scary. And I completely acknowledge that person and have a lot of compassion for you. I think I don't want to bring in like a very like cheesy quote, but I think it's going to take a lot of looking inward in how you feel about even your own pleasure with yourself, like self pleasure. Like, is that an okay experience? Are we okay with self pleasuring? But then the second someone else comes in, everything is painful, because if that is the case, you are capable of experiencing pleasure on your own. That could be something that's a lot deeper than pain. That's a lot deeper. It's trust issues, intimacy issues, fear of pain, and that's perpetuating that pain fear cycle. And I read something interesting lately that's like about leaning into the experiences we fear with pain, because by not experiencing them, we're reinforcing to our brains like, yeah, that is an unsafe behavior. So for us, maybe to bring it back to blowjobs, if we're fearful of blowjobs, we should try and give more blowjobs, because we're breaking that pain fear cycle of, my body is unsafe if I do this. I can't be safe if I'm in this position. Or even something with like people with back pain. I'm not supposed to be sitting for 30 minutes or more. I shouldn't be standing for this long a time. If you reinforce that, you never will be able to sit for more than 30 minutes of time. So for me, it's like, when I'm thinking about that question, I'm thinking, okay, where's this person with self-pleasure? Is that an experience they're capable of achieving? And can we work there first? And then if this person's like, no, that's not a problem, I'm good on that front, move forward, it's more with other people, I would definitely look more into putting yourself out there in situations like first dates or school dates, and even just trying to open up the conversation about it, saying, this is the truth of my experience and this is who I am. And, you know, people are going to fall in love with you with or without pain. And trusting and knowing that there are people out there that are more than willing, accommodating of your experience. And listen, the mind is a very powerful thing. You know, you can do a lot upstairs with no physical touch. So that would be my like general advice. And good luck to that person.
You heard it from the sex expert, Kelsey Darragh.
Self-proclaimed sex expert.
Self-proclaimed. I love it. I had so much fun chatting with you, Kelsey. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we end our chat sesh?
I think it's just remembering that we're so worthy of love and orgasms and pleasure, and like that goes for everybody. I don't care who you are, where you are, what age you are. You deserve to have your needs met. And it's always so good to catch up with you, and I love hanging out and talking with you. So thanks for letting me be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing all your tips with us. I know that I'm saving this for later. So
Ah, thank you.
thank you so much. I know we'll chat again soon. Stay strong through your pain.
You as well, babes. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.